Welcome to my one-man panel of madness. Hello, welcome back to Dr. Gio Who's Sci-Fi and Horror Ramblings, and today we're talking about Star Trek. Well, more precisely, Star Trek 4. Being a huge sci-fi fan, Star Trek is one of those shows that I definitely grew up with. My dad introduced me to Star Trek, the classic series, after we watched Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, so that was the first Star Trek movie I saw. Now, I had seen bits and pieces, growing up. I saw different episodes, late night when you're not supposed to be watching TV, but, you catch it on the tube. And, once I started getting into my teen years, I started to watch the Next Generation. I actually caught the Next Generation on its 5th, 6th, and 7th season. And, of course, I'm a huge fan of Deep Space Nine. So, yes, I am a Niner. So I'm a little troubled by the news that Comic Book Resources put out reporting that Star Trek 4 has now lost Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth over a pay dispute. And, I really do want to see a 4th movie made with the Kelvin Timeline crew, as they are referred to. I think that they've got good chemistry, and they've had some good stories. I'll admit, Star Trek Into Darkness might not be one of my favorite of the Trek movies, just because as much as I love Cumberbatch, I think that Khan could have either been played by another character or not even been reintroduced at all. I think Khan Noonien Singh is one of those characters in Star Trek that you just think Ricardo Montalban. He was in Space Seed, which is actually the very first episode that I saw with my dad after we saw Wrath of Khan. And I like it, it's kind of like I'll be zen about it, and okay, cool, new Star Trek movie. It's cool just to have a new Star Trek movie anyways. But Beyond, for me, Star Trek Beyond was the one that kind of really hit home, because it had a lot of elements that I think Gene Roddenberry would have said, yes, this is it. This is why we do this. The Yorktown space station was beautiful, and just the whole scene when they're the Enterprise is entering the station. Spoilers if you haven't seen Star Trek Beyond, but I really like that scene when the Enterprise is docking and you see this beautiful world that I think Gene would have looked at and said, yes, that's Star Trek. So, alright, pay dispute. Look, I know they're both very popular, but let's be honest, if we really think about it, both men kind of got their start with Star Trek, and, well, maybe not so much Hemsworth. He was in the first Star Trek movie, which I think is what really put Chris Pine on the map. He'd been in other things like Princess Diaries 2, but really, who would have remembered him from that? I didn't. But Hemsworth was Kirk's father, James' father, in the 2009 just Star Trek, which I was obsessed with. I actually saw it, I think, 8 times. It was like 5 times in IMAX and 3 times in regular theater. And I just really liked it. I think it just kind of brought Star Trek back to a new age, a new time, new fans, and so forth. So I liked it. I thought it was really good. But now, yes, I know Hemsworth is Thor, and he's making major bucks with those movies and so forth. And I've read some of the articles. Some of it was really posted last Friday or before the weekend, so it could have been tactics just to get people out there to start talking about it and get some buzz. That the two Chris's aren't on board, and apparently they've walked out of the negotiations. I don't know the full story, so I can't say, but I'm just saying this. I think it would be sad if they had to scrub this movie, because I think they're going in a good direction. They had the first, female director for Star Trek movies. So I thought it would be a great chance to tell a really good story and, bring more fans into the franchise. So if they were to, maybe replace them, which I don't think the studio will do, because I just don't think they're going to do that. They're not even going to recast Anton's character of Chekhov after his tragic death. So I'm glad that they're not recasting him. Technically, you could say that he's off on the Reliant. If you follow Star Trek lore, he could be possibly on board the USS Reliant because that's where Star Trek Wrath of Khan puts him. So, you could do that he's off, or maybe he became captain or something, I'm a little upset though. I'm kind of, I guess, angry at the two Chris's, Chris Pine and Hemsworth, because, obviously I know they're making money, but at the same time, I understand that Paramount is trying to stay on budget because it's not, they're not Marvel movies. They don't make the major amount of bucks that the Marvel movies make, but at the same time, I believe that at least Chris Pine might have already had a deal with them, and they were renegotiating. But yeah, obviously, two sides to the story. He's a bigger actor now. Now he's a bigger name because of Wonder Woman. And but I think that it's because of Star Trek that got him there. So that's why I'm a little kind of pissy with Chris Pine. Is like, you started pretty much because of Star Trek. I didn't even know half your work. I didn't even know you were in anything else. And the only reason I know you were in Princess Diaries too is because somebody had mentioned it, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's him. So I think it'd be cool to work out some kind of deal with the studio. There's always something that could be done. The same with Hemsworth. I don't think he had done Thor yet, so I think he was just doing, it wasn't like a cameo, I think he really just was a nobody at the time, because if I'm right, I think he actually did Thor after the Star Trek movie, so, it's like, come on guys, make a good deal, do it for the fans, because in this day and age now, you're going to have fans who are going to now attack both of them as, well, they don't care, they just want the money, they don't care about the property. And that's important, I think, to fans, that the actors actually do take some sort of, I don't know, they have some kind of, not attachment, but they have some kind of loyalty to the franchise. Like you could definitely see that Gal Gadot, for example, with Wonder Woman, she definitely has that. A great example is Leonard Nimoy. Yeah, he was kind of in and out with regards to the whole fandom and all that, but ultimately, that man was loyal to Spock and loyal to Star Trek. He knew how to write Star Trek. He knew how to direct it. Star Trek 4 is one of my all-time favorite Star Trek movies, just because of the Star Trek-iness of it, I guess I could say. With going back and saving whales, it had a message. It's a great movie all around. So I'm just that's my ramble. I'm just kind of upset at these guys because I think they could definitely make some kind of deal or do something, to bring back the negotiations, which I don't think they've stalled. The report that they've walked away over a pay dispute, honestly, that could also lead into negative marketing for both of them as actors because, how fans are nowadays, there is this kind of, we the fans now demand type of attitude, and they could look at both of these guys and, essentially boycott them and say, you know what, you guys started with these movies and you should really do it for the fans, do it for us, and so forth. So I'm not taking sides though. Please don't, after hearing this, don't think that I'm saying that, that they're wrong. Obviously, they also want to make sure that they're covered. If the movie makes lots of money, they want to get their back end deal. So can't judge them on that. But at the same time, I don't know if it's really a lot of what like the reports say that they're both just stalling because they want more money, or because they're just not making, the Star Trek movies just don't make as much money as the Marvel movies. So whatever, I am just a little upset because I just I wish they would just say, all right, let's work at a deal and call it the last one. Just say this is it. Another idea would be that just scrap this whole fourth movie and move on to maybe another generation of Starfleet officers. Either in the future or go boldly where no one has gone before, and that could happen as well. Keep the same director, maybe keep on some of the original writers, meaning Simon Pegg, because I like him and he's cool, and do something new. Unfortunately, you can't really force actors into their roles, as Dave Bautista has been voicing with regards to Guardians of the Galaxy. He's like, if the script is not what was originally, he'd like to be released from his contract, So I like that. I like that he's loyal to the fans, but also to James with regards to the directing and the story, the way it's going. So I really appreciate that from him. Are we going to get that from the two Chris's? I don't know. I don't think so. I kind of have this weird feeling towards Chris Pine. I just feel that he might be getting a little too high and mighty for himself. Not so much Chris Hemsworth. I don't kind of feel that way. I'm having like a weird psychic moment here at Dr. Gio Who's. I foresee that, Chris Pine will end his career. I don't know. Now I really am just rambling. But, so those are my thoughts about Star Trek. I just really hope they don't, stop making the movie. If they're not coming back on the table for negotiations, scrap the movie, but redo it, revisualize it, do something. Don't just end it there. Look at with the popularity of Star Trek Discovery and introducing new characters. A motion picture with new characters, new ideas, new ships will definitely work. So, I don't think Paramount should be fearful. If anything, say, okay, well, I guess we'll have to go back to the drawing board and move forward with another story without these guys. I do feel bad for everybody else that's on board, like Carl Urban, who plays Dr. McCoy. He's been very vocal about getting back to Star Trek, and so is Simon Pegg. So, I don't know. Maybe move the movie forward and include that cast. Maybe, something has happened to Kirk. He's gone now and moved on to become head of Starfleet operations, which he actually does in the motion picture, and bring the cast back as maybe supplementary characters, introducing a new generation of Star Trek Star Trek stories and characters. So we'll see. Well, that's my ramble for today. Hopefully these guys will get their crap together, and so will the studio, and we'll get some more Star Trek to come. So bye, and check us out.